Hi everyone, I'm going to talk about planting bare root fruit trees, at least in zone 9, January through about, mid-March is the time to plant your bare root trees. So when you go to a nursery, you're going to find them in 3 different ways. You're going to find them either bagged or in bins of sawdust or even sand sometimes. And lately what I've been seeing is them being potted up in peat pots that you should just plant directly into the ground. I'm not a big fan of that. If you do that, go ahead and score the sides, or you could take it out and treat it like bare root. What you want to do is when you get your bare root tree is soak it, ideally in lukewarm water overnight to rehydrate the roots. But when you're shopping for a bare root tree, there are a few things to look for. Of course, if you're able to inspect the roots, I would. There's going to be some broken, that's okay, but you sort of want good equal distribution. I also make sure that there's no major wounds along the trunk. Slight wounds, that's okay. A plant could heal. They're being moved around. The graft. The graft is, of course, where the root and the side are attached. There's a little bit of flaking. That's normal, but you want to make sure that there's no oozing. I generally, you look for a straight trunk. I'm not so concerned about the top because I'm going to make fruit tree bushes. But if tall fruit tree, then of course you want to make sure that it has a nice straight main leader for the most part. And then bring it home if you can't plant it right away and it's completely bare. Heel it in, meaning basically cover it in compost or sand or soil. If it's bagged, make sure rain is not getting in there. You want it to be moist around the roots, but you don't want it to be in standing water. And then, plant it when you can. You'd never want to work really wet soil. So if it's rained and your soils are sopping wet, then you're going to wait for the soils to dry out a bit. My hole, I have the mound. It's centered. Ideally, the main graft point is going to be away from the south because the south is the most intense sun and the graft is a little sensitive. So now I'm going to backfill and I'm not going to show you because that's very boring to watch. Okay, I'm back, and just like that, the hole is filled. Don't you wish it was like that in real life? So you just want to make sure that your soil isn't any higher than the last root, right? And you can put a berm around it so then when you water, the water just stays right in that area. But I'm just going to put a drip hose on it and it's just going to drip down into it. So a berm is up to you or not. So this looks great, but this would be a pretty tall tree. So say like this would be your lowest scaffolding branch. I want my lowest scaffolding or main branch to be lower down. I don't want to have to get a ladder to prune and pick fruit. So I'm going to cut this down. Now remember, do not do this with your 3-in-1s or your 4-in-1s. Anything that's grafted on the scion, you buy a cherry, sometimes you have a 3-in-1. Don't prune like this. This is only if you have a single variety. As remember, the graft is down here for that. So I'm going to look for buds along the trunk that are equal distance around, one facing east, one facing south, maybe north. And so 3 or 4 that are going to be my main scaffolding ones down low. And I'm just going to take a pair of pruners. So all this is going to be gone. All this is going to be gone. That's why I wasn't so concerned about the top. So I have a bud that's going to be emerging to the east, one to the south, and this one's going to be going a little bit to the west. So I'm going to prune above that one, just a nice pair of pruners that have been sterilized with hydrogen peroxide ideally, and I'm going to cut that right above that bud, and there we go. I'm not going to put anything on that because if you prune when it's dry out, don't prune it when there's about a chance of rain the next day or two. This is gone. That's my tree. And so when it emerges out, it's going to have branches, low branches coming from there. And it's sort of, it's still going to get tall. It's still going to be about 8 feet tall, but you don't necessarily need a ladder and you don't have to worry about getting so tall that you can't get the fruit. Now, of course, in springtime, before the really hot temperatures come, I'm going to paint this trunk with interior white latex paint. You can dilute it, or you could use it straight like I do, and just paint it because that is going to be basically your sunscreen. Young trees are very susceptible to sunburn, and their bark literally can blister, and that is a perfect entrance wound for bacteria, fungus, and bugs. So really focused on the south and the west sides because those are the most intense. So that's really basically how you plant a bare root fruit tree. And like I said, you don't have to do this. You know, if you want tall trees, go ahead, leave them as they are. But if you want something shorter, now's the time to do it. It's when it's already growing. And I'm going to give this a little bit of water, and hopefully we'll get some rains to keep it going. And then in spring, it's going to bud out. So thank you.